Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer.
And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the hottest spot in town. This is Sunshine's Corner. And today, I have a treat for you. We are joined today by our very own Mayor D.C. Reeves. And we're going to be talking about the progress, the things that are happening in our city, the things that we have been worried about. But you see, we've got plenty of questions today and things that we're going to let you know that they've got this all planned out and it's coming together, especially about me. The fact about Palafox. It is moving on rather quickly. Today, now I want you to sit back, grab a cup of coffee so you can get into this conversation because it is absolutely needed. I believe, and I tell you this every day, anything you want to know, sit down and talk about it. And I think then we can come up with greater solutions. Let me say good morning to you, Mayor, and welcome, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for everything you do, sharing the good word about what's happening in our city. And so certainly appreciate this opportunity to help share the amazing things that make our city great. So,
exactly.
So very, very excited.
Thank you so much. You know, I got to tell everybody, I've been after him for a long time. He's so busy. But you know, that's what it takes though. But I want to say this because of the fact, and I'm going to be totally transparent with you. When you first said reimagine downtown, I said, reimagine? Yeah. What is it gonna be? Yeah. But now I tell you, I've run down here, I followed you with the updates when you're out and you give the clips on what's growing and what's not growing downtown. But what I do, when I did yesterday, as a matter of fact, I run down here 3 days a week. And when I was here last week, and we're talking about reimagine Palafox, right? Mayor, it was all torn up and I was like, how is this gonna work?
Yeah.
Then yesterday, there's concrete poured. I mean, it's growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, that's what we promised the downtown business owners, the community, that this is a project we understand the value of Palafox. Number one, that's why we're doing it.
Exactly.
And anybody that looks at it as, well, this is one street or it's only for these businesses, you have to really understand economic development. What's made our city what it is, we have an amazing beach in our community that brings lots of tourism here. 85% of our tourism comes here because of the beach.
Exactly.
However, what makes us different than Destin, than Gulf Shores, than other places where the sand looks the same, the beach looks the same, what makes us special, what makes us different? It's because we have a downtown core of local businesses, local business owners. As I always say, we have a downtown and a community with real soul that isn't just a beach community, it is a real downtown. And so we have to pour into that. We have to invest in that, whether that's the Bay Center, whether that's our main downtown street. And like you said, we've really been explaining this is well beyond just some new pavers or some new trees.
That's right.
This is stormwater. We've had major flooding issues generationally down there.
That's right.
And we're addressing that. We're just addressing pedestrian safety.
Right.
We're addressing the ability for you to be able to go. You're reminding me I need to be running more 3 times a week. That's a lot. If I get one in, I'm doing good. So I've got to aspire to get to where you're at. But we need to have, this is our first investment in this road that we all are proud of in 26 years. And
26?
Yeah, and so the first major investment. So for example, instead of 12 storm drains, there'll be over 40 storm drains. There's the addition of about 50 trees. There's pedestrian protections. You'll see flower beds that look nice as a flower bed, but they're actually also protecting if a car were to go off the road and into the sidewalk. So there's lots of very intentional design elements that not only make it more beautiful and get us ready for the next couple of generations, but also make us safer and make it easier for us to get around, whether you're jogging or whether you're in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
We are not ADA. Palafox Street, it has zero ADA compliance as we sit here today.
Absolutely.
When this is done, someone on crutches, someone in a walker, someone in a wheelchair can, for the first time in their lives, will be able to fully access Palafox Street.
And you know, I got to say this, ladies and gentlemen, because I was really in awe and I said, okay, how's this going to work? I can't see this. But I understand so much more now about, even when I'm down here a lot, the fact that you're doing this, and you know, when you're out, you know, you don't want to bump into anybody.
That's right.
That way. But now that it's being expanded, great. That's how we can reimagine that. But when I was looking at some things, you were born and raised right here in Pensacola.
That's right. I was born at the Old Baptist Hospital. As a matter of fact, my mom was a social worker at Baptist, and for many years I actually hunkered down in Hurricane Aaron in 1995 on the social work floor on the 4th floor of the original Baptist Tower, and so so yeah, pretty much. Other than I went to Florida State University, I was there for a little bit of time, and then I moved back here as a sports writer for 4 years, and then back to Tallahassee for a couple, back to Tuscaloosa for a couple. Alabama football, yeah. And so I'll be 42 next week, and so I've been here for about 34 of my 42 years.
Absolutely, but you made there's a promise you made, and I thought that was really neat. That what you say, you're here from Pensacola, and now that you are mayor of this city, that your plans are to make sure that everybody will be in that era where they can take care of themselves with the things that you're growing with in the city. That inclusive for the communities and the programs that we're going to talk about, some of them, even with the Civic Center, things that I call it the Civic Center, the Bay Center, with the things that are happening there. With that promise and what you're doing, because I think when you put yourself in a situation, I always say, can you walk in my shoes? But you said that, and that's what your plans are to continue with the city. For sure, and what I would say with this administration and just my personal philosophy about politics in general that might be more unique is sometimes there's a stereotype or an assumption that you get into politics and that means that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. I wouldn't be doing anything else other than this, and there's a very liberating feeling in the sense that you get to wake up every day and decide what's best for the city of Pensacola. Not trying to be the president of the United States one day. I'm not trying to do it's. I am only doing this, and the sacrifice that you think about it from a family perspective. It's not easy on family. This job, don't worry about me, but there's other people around me where this impacts. And so it's certainly an investment by our family, but it's a very worthwhile investment. And the reason I ran is I didn't want this to just be cutting ribbons and taking paychecks. This was about having real urgency. Absolutely. To be able, the strong mayor format is relatively new. Mayor Hayward was the first, then Mayor Robinson. I'm only the third, where this new form of government means if we are going to be an effective city for everybody, then you have to have urgency in the seat that I'm in. Absolutely. And you're not going to agree on everything. You won't disagree on everything. But I think the best thing anybody in this position can do is wake up every day with the expectation that you're getting to work. Absolutely. And that's really what we've tried to reflect these last 2 years. I love the fact when you said that we may not agree on everything, and I do not believe that no two people are going to agree on everything all the time. No way. But the fact of it is, there's an opportunity to talk about it. I believe if I get the opportunity to come to the table, absolutely, then there's an opportunity that we can put those thoughts together and move forward. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd actually add to that with some of these big projects that we're working on, Hollis T. Williams, Baptist, we have, to your exact point, because I totally agree, is we have completely reformed what community engagement looks like. So at Hollis T. Williams, for example, we had 31 meetings about Hollis T. Williams, 31 community meetings. And I can guarantee you in the history of the city, there's never been 31 meetings about any city investment. 31? And so normally, a lot of times governments will just say, hey, we'll have one meeting at City Hall at 5 o'clock. And if you show up, and if only 5 people show up, then that's only 5 people care, and that's it. Right. We have been much more proactive, and that's hopefully, God willing, the plan at Baptist as well, is to have a very robust community engagement plan that we're trying to get off the ground. So when the demolition is complete at Baptist, that we have a real, and most importantly, realistic plan of something that can be accomplished. Exactly. The last thing we want to do is waste community members' time saying, here's this big pie in the sky idea, but you can't get anybody to invest in it, or you can't get anybody to build it, right? So we need aspirational ideas, but we need realistic ideas. Absolutely. And so we've been very robust in community engagement because it is so important. Exactly. And we're talking about, I want to, when you brought some things up about that, but I want to skip over, talk about the recycling, the changes, the truth, and the impact of it. For instance, as I was reading last night, I went to your page, I was just going through, I followed through to find out so I won't sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But there's 85 to 90% contamination. Right? The rate, it sounds alarming. But when that comes to, what exactly are people doing wrong when it comes to recycling? Let me clarify, the 85 to 90% contamination is specifically at the Summit recycling drop-off. Okay. So here's the good news. When I got into this office, we had mandatory recycling, meaning we had 21,000 households and we had 21,000 recycling cans. Now, some people took that recycling very seriously. They would put only the right materials in, and as you can imagine, with 21,000 people, you don't have a choice. You're going to get the can. Exactly. Many people used it as a second garbage can, and that's why most cities have really gotten away from mandatory recycling, because they realize
you're actually tainting the recycled product because for the people who don't care about it, they're just going to put grease or tires or paint or whatever, and then what ends up happening is when that shows up, it contaminates the rest of the other thing. So that it's funny you bring up recycling, because that was probably early on the first microcosm of the complexity of this job.
Exactly.
Is I've got a poor grandmother who's emptying their syrup bottle exactly right, and they're saying, wait a second, Mayor, why are you pausing? Why are you taking away the recycling cans? I really care about it. But you're having to make a decision for the greater good of the. So here's the great news: we hit the pause button for about a year. We came back in with opt-in recycling. Anybody can opt in. It's about $6 more. We actually lowered everybody's bill by a few dollars. So you're actually saving money now if you don't have it. But you can opt in for it. And we are now 93% clean at the curb.
Okay, now.
And why? Because we were able to sift out people that wanted to do it.
Exactly.
Because money talks, right? Even if it's only $5 or $6 extra a month.
Adds up.
Well, then you have to really care about it to have it at your curb. So we have consistently, since we've come back, been 93% clean, which is the best in the area by far.
Right.
And actually, we got complimented at the ECUA meeting. They said, man, we should do what Pensacola did. It's probably the smartest thing that they've ever done, to be able to take what we were calling recycling, and there's a famous term in recycling called wish cycling, where you wish it gets recycled, but it actually isn't recyclable. So we've gotten ourselves out of that business, and it's taken a while, but we're now back in the business that when you have a recycling can in this city, you can guarantee that whatever you and your family are taking all that time out to try to help the planet,
Absolutely.
we can guarantee you that when it leaves your curb, you're not wishing it gets recycled, that
Absolutely.
it actually is.
The job that you have, no. I went, oh no.
It's tough sometimes.
Look, I would run the other way. I mean, because I've got to say, even down to just talking about garbage can.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be on top of that.
Yeah.
On top of the city looking better.
Yeah.
On top of a new logo.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
The airport, the port.
Everything.
18 city departments,
Everything.
$330 million budget. Yeah.
And sometimes I tell people, I said, look now, can you walk in those shoes?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's easy to talk, but it's a lot that you have to do. I can imagine, do you get any sleep? No, not at all.
Yeah, and I will mention this. I think probably one of the biggest misperceptions of, like you said, having an opinion about what the city should or shouldn't do. One thing I always, number one, being engaged in the community, whether that's at town halls, and you don't have to go to them. They're all recorded now. Our press conferences are every week. You can watch them on YouTube. The best thing our citizens can do for us, not for me, for us, is to be engaged and understand the issues. Doesn't mean they have to agree.
Right.
But I would say about 95% of disagreement about anything that the city does is rooted in wrong facts, not opinion.
I hear you.
Yeah, and so we run into that a lot. For example, with Palafox, I'll give a perfect example. So, they're saying, why do you spend the money on Palafox and not give to the homeless or not give to this? Well, there are different buckets of money that can only fund certain things and can't fund others. It is not the same way that our personal bank accounts work, where you can make any decision that you want. There are legal rules around different buckets of money. And so I understand that a citizen's not going to be able to follow that. They got their own lives and kids, but the presumption sometimes is that everything can just go one way or go another way, and that's really not the case.
You know what? I think you just made a point there that I think is so powerful. Listen to this. You think that, forget your personal account, but when monies come in, there are certain things that money has to go toward. Come on, think about that money over here. You got to pay your power bill. I mean, but there are certain things you may say, oh, well, you got all these millions over here, so why can't we put it there? But no, that fund, that discretionary fund, is for this project.
Correct. So, for example, the local option sales tax that we all pay here locally. Well, that can only go to specific infrastructure projects. It can't go to anything that you want. So to give you the perfect example of that, $333 million budget at the city, only about 75 million of that 333 million is called general fund dollars, meaning it can be spent on anything. And then among that, about 83% of that general fund is towards staffing. That's police and fire. So when you boil it down, the amount of money that there is in the city budget to just do big capital projects is almost none. If you go look at Hollis T, Baptist Hospital.
Well, of course.
All of those are typically grant funded. We go out and hustle. We fly to Washington, D.C. or Tallahassee because we don't have a funding stream to do big projects like this at the city government level. Without fail, the airport terminal, any project you see is either bonded or is grant funded from some other mechanism. It isn't just money sitting in a piggy bank somewhere that you break to go do a project like this.
But you know what I think that happens, though, Mayor? When a person hear a number like, $350 million. Yeah. All you're thinking about is that huge number.
Yeah, of course, I get it. Yeah.
And you're not looking at where this has got to go. Do you ever think about who has to be paid? How do they get paid?
Right.
I mean, with the police department, the different entities that money has to take care of.
Yep.
And I think that's what I believe, that a lot of our people may be uneducated.
Yeah.
And when I say that, guys, I mean uneducated about what the funds go to.
Yeah. Well, and just even how the government works. So of that $333 million, to your example, that includes the airport, where no money can leave the airport due to federal regulation. So whether the airport made $1 or makes $50 million in a year, all that money must stay on the airport. So when you see a cop at the airport next time you're there, the airport actually pays the police department their hourly rate. Like, it's an arm's length transaction. It's not actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's an example. Pensacola Energy, the gas company, that's a whole business, right? And so that, to your point about the $330 million. A lot of that $330 million are port, airport, Pensacola Energy, things that kind of run on their own and are their own little ecosystem versus the rest of the departments like Parks and Rec and Public Works and things like that.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of parts to this. I always use the body as an example. When you take a body, this arm, it works because it's connected to the shoulder.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm just using layman's terms to get people to understand the connection when you hear 300 and some odd $1 million. That sounds like a lot, but think about the things that you didn't think about.
Right.
Well, these monies has to go.
Right.
Just because this may have been left over from that, but I can't pull this and put it over there. Think about it. Yep. We're educating today. Stay with us. We're going to be right back with more. We're going to take a break and talk more with our mayor right here on Sunshine's Corner.
For 75 years, we've been caring for families, creating jobs, and working to build a healthier community. This is your home, and ours too. We're honored to be the trusted partner in your care. Baptist Healthcare, here for you then, now, and always.
At FPL, we plan for storm season all year long. We're strengthening poles to better withstand severe weather. We're clearing lines to improve resiliency, and we're constantly training teams to act at a moment's notice. Because we're always working, always preparing. So when storms do hit, you can count on us. FPL, working for you every single day.
Many who consider facial plastic surgery are concerned their results will look unnatural. But with over 20 years of serving the Pensacola community, his thousands of satisfied patients have made Dr. Derek Jones a trusted reconstructive and facial plastic surgeon known for industry-leading results that look natural. Call 850-484-FACE to schedule a consultation at one of our locations in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze.
I'm Dr. Derek Jones. Trust your face to a facial plastic surgeon.
I'm Kathy Holsworth, Artistic Director at Pensacola Little Theater. Join me on the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. for the Center Stage, where me and my artistic friends talk about all things on the stage and at the Clark Family Cultural Center. Join us, won't you?
Hi, I'm David Apple. I own the Apple Market here in Pensacola on Scenic Highway. We've been in Pensacola since 1996. I've been advertising on Blab now for 15 years. I was a tough sell. Didn't really think that this form of advertising was going to be right for us. But as it turned out, it's probably been the most effective thing that we've ever done. Rarely a week goes by that we don't encounter someone who say, hey, I just saw your show, it was great. I'm David Apple, and I am Blab TV.
And welcome back to this edition of Sunshine's Corner. We are so pleased to have with us our very own Mayor D.C. Reeves. And listen, we're talking about things. We're talking about funding. We're talking about how monies are used, because I think there's such a disparity when we do not understand how it all works. And I tell you with Sunshine's Corner, that's why we talk about it. We're going to educate. Knowledge is power. And once you get that power, you got to know how to use it. But let's go a little bit further, Mayor. I want to talk about, can you share the philosophy on when to engage with, I'll say like step by step, back to back with the mayor.
Right.
Because there's a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd run the other way.
Right.
And I want people to realize that respect is due, insightfulness is due. That shows that our viewers today how leadership works behind the scene.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we may tend to look only what we see, but I don't know what you're doing when that door is closed, or when you're not doing that town hall that we get every week. But just a little bit of that to show.
Sure, no, that's a great question. And I really look at, number one, the primary function of doing this public service is to listen to the 55,000 people who live here and listen to them even in disagreement, even if the facts aren't all there, is to do the best that we can. But I'll tell you, at its core, I think this job and anybody in this job is going to probably treat it at the same level that we all treat human interaction, which is when someone's intent, even in disagreement, if someone's intent is focused on the good of the community. Hey, Mayor, I want you to make you aware of this. I'm not sure what is going on. We track things like that all the time. Simply emailing me, dcreeves@cityofpensacola.com.
Exactly.
And say, hey, I saw this happen on my block, on my street, or this stop sign's down, or anything like that. We have lots of engaged, amazing people that kind of keep eyes and ears out for us, not just our council members. We love that, right? I mean, because we don't have the staff to be on every street every day, or at every park every day. And so those type of engagements in making sure that we're thinking and we're on our toes, I love that. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing this job to make sure that we can be approachable to 55,000.
Most certainly.
But there are people that take a much more negative tack to that. And I always say at its core, it's really human nature is, then you wonder, is this the goal about helping the community, or is this to get some anger out, or is it to insult, or is it to, and so, our job is to listen to everybody, but there's not an obligation to engage if it's easier to engage when we all have the same net goal in mind, even if the tactics are different.
I got you.
But some people want to treat it differently with disrespect to council members or staff or things like that. Listen, we're there to be attentive, but we try to be treated the way we treat, and vice versa, just like human nature is. So my advice to anybody that wants to engage or say, hey, why is the city doing this or that? We love it. Email us, call our office. We do that every single day. We are doing that multiple times a day, where I'm handing out and forwarding emails and responding to our staff directly to say, hey, go check this out. But if it starts with a lot of four-letter words, then we tend to say, well, what's the priority here? Is it actually to help the community, or is it to get some anger out, or is it to be? So that's always my advice is we get talked to a lot of different ways. That's part of what you sign up for, and we have to be respectful to a certain degree. But what I always hope for is that in agreement or in disagreement, that we all have the same common goal in mind, which is to make Pensacola the best.
What's your goal? Let's get there the same way.
Exactly.
I wanted to go that route so I could come back to this. With Palafox now, I hear there's let's say the curiosity of Palafox. Is there a history there about the tunnels? The Palafox tunnels.
I know. It's funny. I hear a lot about that. I just got asked about the press conference yesterday about the tunnels. I don't know anything about tunnels, and I promise I'm not sworn to CIA secrecy or anything.
Okay, guys, you're not sworn.
As an old journalist myself, or as an old reporter, I'm just as fascinated to find out if there is. It has not hit my desk that there is, but if we find them, I can't wait to
you're going to
share
explore
it with
if
everybody.
You find it.
Yeah, I think the theory was with one of the reporters was we just didn't dig deep enough, and so we didn't have to address it. It's no, we have not found any tunnels yet, but if we do, you'll be the first to know. We'll come back and
in my head, I'm like, okay, where? I mean, you took me back, many years ago, slavery, when they were under the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, think about that.
Well,
Would that connect that way?
I do think science will refute some of the tunnel argument, meaning the water table is so high in the ground.
I got you.
I don't know if you want to be until you'd be swimming or holding your breath in a tunnel, probably in our downtown. Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, this is how we have a conversation. And when you have a conversation, come with I believe that if we're all working toward the same goal, you can have a conversation. Come to the table, but come to the table so I can hear you.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Is so we can engage it, so we can find out if it's true or not true, or if we can help or not help. So I think just that open-mindedness to say, hey, I don't agree with this. Why is that? We love inquiring, getting into conversations with folks that just want to make the community better.
And so if there's no tunnels under there, okay, so you cool now, right? I mean, that.
right.
But I thought about that, I said, really, tunnels?
Yeah.
I don't see any roads caving in.
Right. No tunnels so
None
far,
there. But there's so many things that you deal with, that you go through with. I want to go to even the fact with the Bay Center.
Yeah. Big conversation.
With the plans for that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think anybody who's been in that building for the last 40 years would agree. I don't think we would consider that to be a very modern place right now, and that's no fault of the operator or anybody. It's just 40 years goes by, and that's the shelf life or beyond the shelf life of an arena like that. The importance of the Bay Center for our economic development and a potential new, like whether it be a convention center, whether it be a sports facility, maybe a combination of both, is we have built this great thriving city, and people want to be here. They want to visit here. How do we capture them, get them to eat at restaurants, tip our waiters and bartenders, spend money down here? Well, that's what these facilities are used for. It's not that the facilities themselves really make that very much money at all. And in fact, if they did, a lot of people in the private market would be building them.
Exactly.
The reason that communities engage facilities like this is if we can break even on those, and then we're supporting jobs and hotels and again, all of the hospitality working class of our city, all of that, the beach folks, housekeepers, all of that. That's what keeps people coming into the city is what really funds a lot of different economic drivers for our community. And so that's our interest in it, right? But this is going to be a conversation throughout 2026. Obviously, the Escambia County Commission is involved. They're the operators. The city is the property owner of the actual dirt itself. You always say if you want to make it more complicated than one government, you just get two involved. But no, I really am optimistic about we all are trying to row the same direction. We know this is an old facility that needs upkeep. And then what do we want to do about a potential new facility?
What have you seen with the places that you go to and the things that you have learned when it comes to projects like the one that you're facing that you're bringing back to Pensacola? Has there been an impact with you in any kind of way?
Yeah, I think the most recent study that WT did for the city really shows some of those best practices too around the country. I think one of the interesting discussions will be we all agree that the arena needs some TLC, right?
Yep.
So I don't think that's going to be much of a discussion.
Right.
Maybe what goes in it and what are the upgrades and things like that. We might get into the weeds on that, but for the most part, I think there's general consensus that we got to do something. Number one, to rehab this old arena. Then the question becomes, what is the highest and best use of a new facility?
Exactly.
Is it, again, a convention center has gotten a lot of the conversation. That's really what the study that the city received had pointed to. Do we also make it versatile where you can put some volleyball courts in there or something like that as well, where you could do sports on the weekend and you can have conventions during the week, for example. So I think that'll be a big conversation to be paying attention to moving ahead. And to your question, what have I seen in other communities? I had a little hesitation about that because the old government way to do things is try to please everybody, and then you kind of do a little bit of sports and a little bit of convention, and then you end up not kind of jack of all, master of none. Where in my mind, making sure that whatever the new facility hits the mark for our economy is important. However, I have been shown different examples from around the country where those can live in harmony, where you can have kind of a sports infrastructure as well as a convention infrastructure. Hey, it's 2026. There's a lot of smart people designing buildings now that can figure out how to make it work. So that's a perfect example where I initially had a little anxiety over that, but with professional expertise coming in and saying, hey, Mayor, hey, City Council, look at this, that there is a way to do this.
Absolutely.
That's kind of moved us in that direction as well.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think that with this, because it was about 100 million that was talked about that might take.
Yeah, more.
More. That's a lot of money. You see, now but we're coming back to that number when they hear this.
Yes.
Then they want to say, well, who's going to pay this?
Yep.
And you've already said that this is going to come through with the other entities that can come in to make sure these things take care of.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that because one thing important to understand is that what is being discussed on the table right now with the county is about $75 million of bonding of bed tax. So remember, bed tax is the money that you pay as an additional tax when you stay at a hotel in Escambia County. So again, for the most part, that's paid for by people who are visiting.
Of course.
And so there's $75 million out there. But to your point, especially if you build a new facility and rehab the old one, it's going to cost a lot more than $75 million. So people ask me, well, wait a second, well, then what are you going to do? This is where public-private partnership becomes a huge tool for us.
Exactly.
And what that means is you get with private investment that says, we'll build a hotel, we'll build a convention center, we'll put our own money in to help compound the taxpayer dollar. Why should the taxpayer have to pay for all of this?
Course.
I don't believe that.
Of course.
I think there should be some private investment in this that helps us make this happen. And so how do you take $75 million and turn it into a larger project? You do it by getting resourceful, finding partners, and allow them to deploy some capital. It doesn't have to just come from us, from city residents.
Absolutely.
And so that's what a lot of this conversation throughout 2026 amongst the two governments.
Of course.
A lot of this conversation is going to be built around how we formulate the plan, both what we want to see there physically, but also financially.
Absolutely. And I say that because I want our viewers to realize if you ride around Pensacola, you see how the entire city is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, especially over off 9 Mile Road,
it's crazy.
It's growing like crazy. But the fact of it is, these things that you want with a beautiful base setup, it's going to cost money, but we got to understand the steps, the process, and the outsiders that can be a part of, so that you won't have to worry, okay, are we going to have to pay this money?
Correct. It's our job to make sure that and you see it now, gone are the days of these cities and counties paying 100% of the freight for a baseball stadium or a football stadium or anything like that. You see in a lot of these much larger cities.
Exactly.
Because the investment doesn't pan out. And when I took this job, I was a small business owner before this. And as I always say, you should expect in my job that you're treating the citizens' money as if it were your own. Meaning the same decisions you make respect your own business or respect your own pocketbook or all that should be the automatic expectation of this job. And so being a good steward of the taxpayer dollar. And so we're gonna find ways to not put it on the backs of the taxpayer, but find other revenue streams, grants, resources to help bring these great, amazing amenities that our community gets to enjoy, but it doesn't have to be fully paid for on their
Absolutely.
back.
No doubt about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having a fantastic conversation here with our Mayor, D.C. Reeves. We've got to take a break and come back, and I want you to just sit back and just hear the conversation. And he's always giving you the option to email him, to get in touch with his office if there are things you want to talk about. We're going to continue to reiterate that, so you are being invited to the table. Now come bring your ideas right here on Sunshine's Corner.
You finally found the perfect car in racing blue. You even got them to throw in the LED fog lights for free. Auto Owners insures your car because some people never learn to parallel park. That's simple human sense.
Ask the Messick Insurance Agency in Pensacola if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Keep going, more. No, stop!
And welcome back to this Friday edition of Sunshine's Corner. We want to welcome in our very own Mayor D.C. Reeves. We're having a conversation today that's simply transparent. We were talking about the Bay Center, and there was an example you wanted to show too, because some people think that when you say renovate or why don't we just tear it down like Mobile?
Yeah, exactly. Great, and it's a great question. Understandable, right? You're saying it's a 40-year-old building, doesn't look that great on the outside or the inside.
Right.
Every engineer that's looked at it, when we say renovation, you're talking about a $75-80 million renovation. This is not just changing the seats or changing the carpet. We've done that over the years. We've just put little Band-Aids on the facility, add a little scoreboard here or there. What's being discussed is a complete overhaul, to the point where if you didn't know any better and you showed up at the new arena, you could convince you that it's actually a brand new building.
Exactly.
So the outside would look different. The inside, maybe little symbols of the old building, but the infrastructure of the building itself is sound. So why spend money tearing that down and rebuilding the same thing? And so in the case of Mobile, for example, they had a brick circular building that didn't really have it didn't have the same bones that ours has. Well, they're about to spend $300 million on the project. Being a good steward of the taxpayer dollar, I don't think it's real smart to when you can get something done pretty close to 75 or 80 million. I think that's the way to go. So when you hear renovation, I want you to know, to the folks listening out there, we're talking about a complete overhaul of the facility as if it were new.
Think about this when those concerts come in.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When they come in, I mean, the sound, the acoustics, and everything is going to be.
Yeah. Well, and concessions and all that, and you go in there now, it's kind of going back in time. I mean, having a better bathroom facilities, infrastructure, seats, all that. Yeah.
I mean, these are the things that we're talking about, ladies, and with our mayor today, and it is absolutely what we need to do. And I appreciate him, that even though we thought to get here, we had one day we were going to do this, but this is why I know this man is always so busy. But I want to talk about the things, and I'm going to be transparent with you. Some of the things that my community feel untouched.
Yeah, love to.
And I want to be open for the table. How does some of the community feel a lack of, they're not heard when they're talking to you. I want to break that scenario.
Sure.
You keep reminding people to call, to email, get back with you. I know that for a fact. But the fact of it is, in order for us to get over that scenario, what do you think we need to do to break that?
Yeah, and listen, I think in any part of our community, that's always difficult because how people receive and want to give information is so different.
Exactly.
And I can give the example of the Hollis T. Williams project again of 31 meetings. We had 31 meetings to get to the product of what's going to now be this stormwater facility and new football fields for the surrounding community, all of these different great amenities to improve what's really been left behind when it came and cut through the neighborhood in the 60s and 70s. 31 meetings. Even after 31 meetings, we might run into someone that says, well, why aren't you asking about this?
Right.
So it's a tough nut to crack to figure out how all 55,000 people want to be communicated with. So I think really the best thing we can do to try to, you're not going to solve it 100%.
Nope.
The best thing we can do is, as we say, is the shotgun approach, is that we try to engage people in many different ways, whether it's not just in town halls. It can be in email or phone calls. It could be at council meetings. It could be at proactive Hollis T. Williams meetings, Baptist Hospital meetings, Fricker Center meetings, things like that. And we've actually, let's use the case of Baptist, everybody within a certain number of feet of Baptist hospitals now getting postcards basically to their door that says, here's the schedule. So we're trying every single mechanism there is. We actually have software now, a software tool that we can email, that it harvests 650 email lists, including the supervisor of elections, where if we want to say, we want to draw a circle around Baptist, or we only want to talk to African Americans between the ages of 45 and 65 that were veterans because of something that we want to share. So we actually have this mechanism. That's where technology is going today. So we use that pretty regularly as well. So if someone asked me that after a town hall and said, hey, I want to engage with you, but I haven't been able to do so, What I would say is, hey, always share with us how you would like to be engaged. To your point, it's easy to say I didn't hear about something. We have press conferences every week. We're in the news every week.
Right.
We have no qualms about wanting to be as front-facing and transparent as possible. But if there's something that's not getting it done for you, we're always open-minded about that,
totally.
And so that my question to that question with a constituent would be, well, tell us how you'd like to receive your input. Do you like email? Do you like postcards? Do you like town halls? Because chances are we have those existing already. It's just a matter of making sure that you get that information.
I agree. What does success look like for the average resident right here in Pensacola?
Yeah, I really think back to before I was elected and given the honor to take this job, I really think we focus on a few key things. Number one for me always is public safety.
Of course.
Is being safe where you sleep and where your children sleep, and to be able to have that assurance. And so we're certainly very proud of that. We're proud of our police department. We've been ranked the 4th safest city in the United States.
Right.
We actually, from 2 years ago, are down about 28 to 30% in crime. Fortunately, crime is down everywhere in the United States for many reasons. Yeah, exactly. In every major city, all that. I personally, I'm not the professional in that. I personally give a lot of credit to technology. The fact that it's hard to get, if you're doing bad stuff out there, it's hard to get away with it today than it was 20 years ago. Everybody's got a Ring doorbell camera, you got cell phones, you got everything else. And so I think technology has been a big help to that. But I think that should be the primary function of the mayor of the city of Pensacola is number one, safety. Republican or Democrat, black or white, young or old. Does anybody disagree that they want to feel safe at their own house? So,
exactly.
So that should always be our focus, number one. Number two is the urgency to bring infrastructure and quality of life. So I think the success for every citizen, regardless of income, regardless of race, age, or political party, is they should be able to have somewhere safe to sleep.
Right.
Have public safety where they feel safe,
of course,
where they sleep, and that they can have a quality of life to be able to provide for their family. And so our focus has always been safety, housing, and jobs, and that is what we talked about when we took this position, and that hasn't changed. I think public safety, number one. How do we figure out how to house people, number two, and how can we create jobs like we are on port with the 2,000 jobs coming to the port of Pensacola. So those should be the primary focuses, I believe, of my administration to be able to provide the quality of life for every single resident here.
Absolutely. What would it be, and I want you all to hear exactly where he's coming from. I want you to hear, let me break it down to you. I want you to pay attention to what he's talking about, okay? Just listen to the conversation. Because of the fact that I don't want anybody to walk away and say, well, I feel left out. No, open the door.
Yeah.
Open the door. Yeah. When it comes to like with the jobs that may be coming, let's even with some of the things with the work that's coming in for the Bay Center.
Yes.
This new building that's coming downtown with the I call it the Hard Rock. That's being talked about downtown.
Yeah, that's right.
This is going to create more jobs.
That's correct.
It's going to create more jobs. So how are these projects, it's going to be where people who are saying that I'm not working, I can't find a good job, but here jobs coming in.
Yep, exactly. And I always encourage, again, you can go on our website right now and sign up for email lists. Let's use the Hard Rock as an example. CCI, they're doing yet another workshop. I think they've done 3 already, where they've done outreach with the community. We share that information out that says, hey, this is a $250 million project.
Yes.
That isn't just for windows. That is paying labor for, and this is a 2-year project. So whether you're a welder, whether you're an electrician, you own a construction company,
right?
All of that money, and what better way to help local businesses? We want local businesses. Why would I want a company in Texas to go get that job? We want local residents to be realizing that income.
These entities are there so you can make money.
So we're, that's pretty self-policing in the sense that why would we not want that? I would rather the dollar stay in the pocket of a Pensacolian than it go to someone else. And so we do everything that we can, but it's an important point because sometimes outside investment in the city gets villainized as like, well, wait, here are these outside people coming to invest money.
Yeah.
But you got to follow what is the investment? Where is that going? It's going to labor and materials and helping to create jobs. And when the project's done, what are they going to do? They're going to hire local people to be able to fill those jobs. So I don't think all investment is a bad thing. Sometimes it gets a bad rap, but it only creates the value for our residents if we are proactive about making sure that those investment dollars are going to are helping put food on the table of the families here in the city of Pensacola.
Now with this new Hard Rock, everybody think about it, man. Oh man, right downtown here in Pensacola. Now, when you think about that, that's going to increase tourism here as well too, right? That's going to create.
That's correct.
Plenty dollars.
Yeah, so right now, let's talk about tourism right now. Again, I was the board chair at Visit Pensacola. I was on the board for 4 years. 85% of the tourism that comes to the city comes to the beach. That's what gets them here. Well, now that we've started to see a more and more engaging downtown core and city as a whole, a busier airport, all of these other factors are now bringing more and more people off the sand and into Pensacola. Why is that a good thing? Why should a citizen care if they don't own a restaurant downtown or whatever? Why does that matter? Well, what we're seeing now is there are 579 hotel rooms currently active within 2 miles of the Bay Center. Let's just use the Bay Center as an example.
How many?
579. There are 583 under construction right now within 2 miles. So, to double the capacity, what does that mean? That is more jobs. That's more. The more people that are here spending money downtown, only provides more entrepreneurial opportunities, small business opportunities, and job opportunity. And so again, it's about, yes, we want outside investment to make good decisions and bring quality of life to our city. And things like the Hard Rock, like the Tristan Hotel going up, the Bay Center, things like that. That type of investment has a reverberating impact. It's not just on the Bay Center. It's going to be, that's that many more people walking down the sidewalk or going into a local restaurant and helping put food on the table for Pensacola. So I think this outside investment is important, and fortunately, we don't convince them to do it. They go look at the number. Outside investment says, man, Pensacola is a place that we can believe in, and so that's a good place to be.
Exactly, and you see, ladies and gentlemen, you hear all of these things that's headed this way, because when I heard about the Soft Rock, I jumped. The Hard Rock. I had jumped. I said, oh my God, we are really, really expanding. Immediately, my thought process, jobs. So therefore, for the small businesses, for that small businessman, there are ways that you can benefit if you are a construction person, or if you got ways that when these opportunities come that you can benefit your business from. I was at a meeting, and Quint, whom I love, we were talking about, even with some of the small businesses, when you want to get into these opportunities, make sure you have what it takes to fulfill when you step in. You understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
Because there are some cases where it is, we don't get this opportunity, then you get it. And you don't have what it takes to fulfill it. So we've got to be prepared once we get to the table to make sure we stay at the table.
No doubt. And here's what my best advice, when someone says, hey, I haven't heard about this project, or we want these to be local jobs, or how can I get involved? You don't need to wait to hear about a project in the newspaper to get involved. You can get involved today. You can email me directly if you want, and I'll forward it along to our procurement office. Deidre Lunderman does a great job in our procurement office. As a matter of fact, Brian Wire at the Golf Course Minority Chamber puts on that supplier exchange meeting every year.
He sure does.
But what we see happen a lot, unfortunately, is people don't engage until the last minute when bids are going out and things like that. Well, they may not have their license in order or their paperwork in order, things that need to take place for the city or for a contractor to be able to hire you. And so you don't need to wait to hear about it. I would do it right now and make sure and say, and you can go to our procurement office right now and say, am I in a position, here is my business, am I in a position to do business with the city of Pensacola or Escambia County? Don't wait on a project. Do it right now. And because, think about it, that's great for the government too. We want as many contractors available as possible. That means the taxpayer can pay a competitive price and that money stays here. I mean, there's nothing better than an investment that takes place where the money stays here.
Did you hear that word, investment? Have you invested in yourself? Have you invested in your business? Think about it as we continue this conversation with our very own mayor, Mr. D.C. Reeves. We are coming back and we got some more things to talk about, but this time is going by so fast, so stay with us right here on Sonshine's Corner.
My name's Kelly McLeod. I'm the owner of Bella Magazine. Bella is a source of uplifting and inspiring content for the women of Pensacola.
I think the magazine is just so thoughtfully done. There's a lot of attention to detail. The stories are really good.
You've got seriousness, you've got fun, education, fashion. It just encompasses everything.
Women are multidimensional, and so is Bella.
The Emerald Coast Utilities Authority's state-of-the-art materials recycling facility processes recyclables for communities throughout the region, lowering need for more landfills. This highly efficient recycling service accepts glass, paper, cardboard, plastics, aluminum, and more. But we need your help. Please make sure your recyclables are clean of garbage, food, and liquids. Also, please remember that plastic shopping bags, foam products, or yard waste are not recyclable. To learn more, go to livegreenecua.com.
From the efficiency of American natural gas and the dependability of nuclear power, to the strength of Florida's sunshine and the flexibility of advanced battery storage systems, we leverage a diverse mix of energy sources to power our growing state, ensuring reliable, low-cost power for your home or business whenever you need it. FPL, working for you every single day.
Well, I think it's all about local, and I'm a big believer in local. So I think anytime you can carry a message out locally, it's important. And I think it's anytime the person that delivers the service can also deliver the message, which is unusual. You have the people that actually deliver the project doing the talking, and I think that's a huge difference, and really makes a huge value difference for the consumer. So I'm really just so grateful that we have this local opportunity with Blab TV. My name is Quint Studer, and I am Blab TV.
And welcome back to this edition of Sunshine's Corner. This is your information network, the most information right here on the Gulf Coast. When there's situations that's going on, possibly things you feel that's difficult to talk about, but let's say about this, you can feel comfortable sharing it right here because we're all working toward the same point. We want the city, everybody here to be comfortable so that we can all live happy right here on these beautiful, beautiful beaches on the Gulf Coast. We are so glad to have our mayor with us. I got to go back because I saw you right there, and I'm touching a little bit of everything that I wanted to talk about. Investing in the next generation. Mm-hmm. The things that I think that is so important, because when you look around, I'm only 25. But we got to invest. What does
that old? I didn't know.
I'm 24. And counting backwards.
Yeah, me too.
I heard you a moment
ago. I've got more gray hair the last 3 years than I probably have before. So.
Look, got to wash that gray right out of my hair. But listen to this. What does investing in the next generation of girls look like? Because I saw you at the Pace Girls down when you at that award that they had.
Yeah.
What, I mean, because they're doing some great things.
Yeah, they're doing amazing things. It was awesome.
Leadership.
We had a bunch of the Girl Scouts come and luckily at City Hall they had a lot of customers, our employees wanting to buy cookies. But I'd say probably the biggest point of investing in the next generation for me right now that you'll start hearing more and more is this idea about access to childcare.
Absolutely.
And I believe if we think housing, we all talk about affordable housing as our number one issue that needs to be solved yesterday, right?
Yep.
And every mayor in this country is working on how fervently we can get at scale affordability in our city for housing. I think the problem of tomorrow that's pretty much rapidly getting here today is access to childcare at every income level.
I agree.
Meaning we are starting to see some pretty troubling numbers in terms of how many qualified people in the workforce are having to stay home because they either can't afford or they can't even find a place to put their newborn, a place to put their 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. So we're getting in the mix on that, and we're partnering with the Children's Trust. So we actually, the Alice Williams Library across from Fricker Center is going to be a 0 to 1 childcare, and we are working with a partner. And how is the city investing? We're giving them the building for nothing, so long as they create 0 to 1 childcare, and so long as it's quality. If it doesn't stay at a certain quality level, then they would be out and someone else would be in. But the same way that there's no such thing as affordable housing without a subsidy, meaning whether that's the city gives dirt or someone gets a grant, because that's the challenge of affordable housing is how are you going to build a house for $100 and sell it for $80?
Thank you.
Someone's got to come put the other $20 in to be able to make it work.
I agree.
So and childcare is really no different. If we want to see an increase in seats for the children of our community to get quality childcare, and for those amazing childcare workers to be able to get a living wage, there's going to have to be a subsidy because it's not working the way it's working right now. So you're going to start seeing the city really focus on getting some facilities up and running, help put some of the cribs in that meet the standards, help put books and instruction and all of that, because we want those parents taking these quality jobs in the city, being able to provide for their family and not have to. Exactly. So it gets more talent in our workforce back into the workforce pipeline, which is great. And I thought that this one interesting number that we heard at U.S. Conference of Mayors was a lot of times in housing affordability, we talk about your percentage of income versus your rent. But if you have 4 kids, that's different than when you have 0.
Amen.
And so even the private market, Bank of America now looks at, with all of their data, they say people are in poverty when they spend more than 90% of their income on all housing needs. I mean, that's food, that's
everything.
Daycare. That's more accurate, right? It's not just what your rent is.
That's right.
Because your rent might be okay, but when you have to put 3 kids in daycare,
that's a different thing.
And that costs as much money as you're making in your salary, then you're struggling.
Exactly.
And so we are looking to invest in the next generation by making sure that all of our Pensacolans have the ability to go make a quality income at a quality job and that their kids are taken care of.
Absolutely. I can't believe we're down to 1 minute. But listen at this. I got to bring this up.
Yeah.
I got to bring up our very own Keela Richardson, who's on the American Idol, who's doing her thing.
I know.
I saw her at your office with her son.
Yeah. Her son Drew.
Yes.
I let him be mayor for a few
saw
seconds.
That.
Yeah. He'd probably do a better job than me, man. He's a smart kid. Yeah.
I tell you, thank you so much, Mayor. But I want to thank you for that. We've got to get out of here, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic day. But I've got to go right here, but I want to leave you as I do every single day because I mean this from the heart. Never, ever, ever lose your focus. Always remember, if you keep God first and whatever you do, I'll guarantee you this, you'll be a total success. So until tomorrow for another day of sunshine, know that I love you with a perfect kind of love. Keep shining while I'm gone. Thank you so very much. Email the mayor if you want to talk. Bye for now.
Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer.